Hey guys! So today we are doing slope-intercept form. So check that guy off and hop over to that page. All right, slope-intercept form. So what we're going to do is learn how to write these equations for the linear functions. And the big idea here is that slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. A lot of you might have seen that before. It's a big one. So m, what is m? Well, m represents our slope. And then take a guess. If it's slope-intercept form, b is going to be the what? Well, it is an intercept, and it's specifically the y-intercept. Now, we haven't talked about the intercept yet. So, what is an intercept? Well, move on down here. Intercepts are where the functions cross the x-axis or the y-axis. So you've got two. You've got an x and a y. So the x-intercept is where it's crossing the x-axis. And our y-intercept, which is our b, is where we're going to cross the y-axis. So this guy right here is our b. And then the y-intercept is that y value there at the point 0, y, wherever that crosses. Okay, so let's look at an example. We've got a linear function that has a slope of 1 and a y-intercept at 4. So we want to write the equation. Well, we've got a slope of 1, that's m, and our y-intercept of 4, that's b. So we just need to put this into y equals mx plus b. So y equals 1x and then plus 4. And then if you like to write that, you don't need the 1 in front of the x, remember. So if we have y equals x plus 4, that is good. So that is our final equation. That one's pretty easy. You just had to put the numbers where they need to go. Looking at the second example, a linear function has a slope of -2/3 and a y-intercept at -1. So again, we've got m here, -2/3, and our b is -1. So we've got to put that into the y equals mx plus b. So m is -2/3. So we're going to have -2/3 x. And then since it's negative for b as well, instead of plus, we're just going to have a -1. And then that would be it. You'd be done. All right, this example is a little bit different because we've got a point, 1, 5, and the y-intercept at 2. So we don't have the slope. So we need m. How do we find m? Well, before, if we had a graph, we did rise over run, or we did with 2 points, we had y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's put that down here for us. That's our m. Well, do we have 2 points here? We've got 1, right? Here's x1, y1. What about a y-intercept at 2? Well, that gives us a point. Remember, our intercept would give us the point 0, 2. So that can be our x2 and our y2. So we're going to put that in. So y2 minus y1, we've got 2 and then minus 5. x2 minus x1, 0 minus 1. So that gives us -3 on the top, -1 on the bottom. So -3 over -1. 3 over 1 is just 3. Negative divided by a negative is going to go back to a positive. So our slope is 3. So we've got our slope, we've got b. So now we just got to put that into our equation, y equals mx plus b. So y equals m, which was 3. So 3x, and then plus b. B is 2. So we've got y equals 3x plus 2 for our equation. All right, next page. Another example here. We've got a linear function that passes through -2, 4, and 1, 1. Write its equation. Well, we've got 2 points. We don't even have the slope or the y-intercept, but we can find them. So we've got 2 points. So we know how to find our slope. So we're going to use x1, y1, x2, y2, and we're going to put that into our slope formula again. So we've got m, we're going to do y2 minus y1, so we've got 1 minus 4 over x2, which is 1 again, minus x1, which was -2. Make sure you're subtracting a negative. It's going to be adding. Don't forget. So 1 minus 4 is going to give us -3. 1 minus -2 is going to be 1 plus 2. So that will also give us 3, but that one's positive. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. Negative divided by a positive is going to be negative. So our slope's going to be -1. Now, how are we going to get b? Well, let's start off our equation for a second. So we've got y equals mx, which is negative. So I'm going to say -x, and then plus b. So I'm trying to find b. Well, an easy way to go about this is going to be to pick one of our points and plug that into our equation, because any point on the line should work in your equation for the line. So let's pick the point 1, 1. So we're going to put that in as our x and our y into our equation right now, and then that's going to be able to let us solve for b. So I would have 1 equals -1 plus b, plugging in 1 and 1 for x and y. So if I have -1 plus b and I want to solve for b, what do I got to do with that -1? That's right, I want to add, okay? So I need to add a 1 to both sides. What that will give me is 2. Okay, -1, +1, that's gone. And then b's by itself. So 2 is equal to b. That means our y-intercept is at 2. So now our equation, final, would be y equals, we still have -x for our slope. Not -x, but -1 for your slope, and that gives us -x. And then our b was 2. So -x plus 2 is the equation of your line. Okay, next example. How to write the equation for a line given the graph? Well, like we did before, we need to find the slope. So we need to get our rise over run. So let's take a look down here. Remember, we want to pick easy points, so look for something that crosses. So here's one at 2, 8. This is that same example from your lesson from yesterday. Do you remember what the slope was? If you guessed 3, that's correct. Remember our rise over run. Oops. So from 0 up to 2, 0 to 8 for our rise. That's going to be a rise of 6. Our run is 0 to 2, and that is 2. So 6 over 2, that's how we got the 3 for our slope. Okay, then what's our y-intercept? So look at your graph and see where it crosses the y-axis. Well, it crossed there at 0, 2. So your b value is 2. So that right there is b. Then just write the equation. So we've got slope of 3, so 3x, and then plus 2. Okay, so there's that guy. All right, and then down here, what's going on with vertical and horizontal lines? They're a little bit funky. They don't quite fit the y equals mx plus b form. But what we're going to have for a horizontal line, we've got m is 0. So really, if you thought about putting that into y equals mx plus b, we would have 0x plus b. Well, if we had 0x, there wouldn't even be an x in the picture. That would be totally gone. So that's why it's just y equals a number, okay? It's going to be y equals b. So if you want to put that in there, you can even do that too. Wherever the intercept is, that's where the equation of the line is going to be. So let's look at this example. Okay, so we're crossing at -2 down here. Okay, so our equation is just going to be y equals -2. And you can kind of picture that like everywhere on that line, the y value is always right there at -2. It never changes. Okay, your slope doesn't have a rise. So horizontal lines have a y equals equation. Now what about vertical lines? So our slope is undefined in this case. So that's a little bit different. This one is going to be an x equals equation. So our x value is staying constant. Okay, it doesn't change. So it's going to be x equals a number for those equations. So this one, if we look at this guy a little bit, where is our x value at constantly? Well, it's right there at 3. So our equation is just going to be x equals 3. And that would be it. Just leave it like that, wherever it's crossing through for your x value all the time. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. If you need extra help, make sure you're asking for it. Otherwise, get started on your assignment, and good luck.